Common Council meeting for Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. All alderpersons are present. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder to everyone here today, there is a chance for public comment, but I will mention that there is no item on today's agenda related to the data center project on the north side of town. But if you are plan on speaking today, we ask that you please be respectful of everyone, ask that you treat everyone with respect, and ask that you limit yourself to the time allotted in public comment. Thank you.
All right, with that, we have public comments and appearances. Individuals wishing to speak during this time period may step up to the podium, line up please, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak. The Common Council is limiting the comments tonight to a maximum of 30 minutes for that because of the agenda items that we have this evening. Or please state your name and address.
Tracy Finch, 1142 West Portview Drive in Port. Mayor, I am appalled by what you have become one of the biggest bullies this community has ever seen. You push people around to get your way. You are not a dictator of Port Washington, yet you act like one. And the councils, instead of speaking with independent voices, seemed content to simply follow your demands. The data center project proves it. By approving 24-hour construction, you have shown no empathy, no consideration, and no respect for families who live nearby. Town of Port Washington is used to hearing a single farmer's machine in the night. They are not used to is hundreds, potentially 1,000 workers operating countless machines under blazing floodlights. Farmers may work a few nights during harvest, but never year-round. This level of disruption is not normal and it's not acceptable. And what about the farm animals? Has anyone even considered the impact on them? What happens if milk production drops of the stress and sleepless nights? Will the city or Vantage step in to offset the financial losses these farmers face? I doubt it, because your actions have shown already that you don't particularly care. This is not leadership, it's bullying. It's a dictatorship, laughing while approving round-the-clock construction for a multi-billion-dollar corporation is arrogance, not service. Worse still, this project was planned behind closed doors. Oversized buildings and expansions like the safety building and the water treatment plant were pushed forward without residents ever asking for them. The minimal information you've shared gives only the illusion of transparency, when in reality, you are withholding the truth. Citizens were shut out, and now construction is being forced upon our community without a single honest conversation. Port Washington deserves a mayor who listens, not one who ridicules. We deserve real accountability, not the illusion of its half-truths. That is why residents have come together, because we will not be ignored. Plus, Vantage made empty promises. They cannot guarantee rates won't rise. What makes Vantage think they can speak for We Energies, or that citizens will enjoy low taxes? They don't run the city, and it's shameful that they pretend otherwise.
A reminder, please, if you plan on participating in public comment tonight, it's your right to do so. We ask that anyone in the audience please refrain from interrupting anyone during their public comment portion. Otherwise, you will be asked to remove, or you will be removed. Thank you.
Okay, so next speaker, please, name and address. Thank you.
James Perez, 2214 Stonecroft Drive in the town of Grafton. I must say, Mayor, a young lady, I don't think she likes you very much, and got bad news for you. I don't like you either. But I'm not here to convince you to change your mind. Like, you're not going to change my mind either. Everybody's dug in. We're at an impasse, unfortunately. I would like to take some time, though, to thank Tracy and her friend Christine for spearheading the effort and putting in motion the referendum proposal, which hopefully the voters now, finally, after a year's bickering back and forth, will have a direct say in what they do think about the data center. And it was a heck of an accomplishment, I must hand it to them, given what they're up against. The totality of the city government, mayor, the alder people, the department heads, the attorneys you guys hire, all of them against them. The union people against them. Oddly enough, the union people aren't here tonight for good reason. And of course, Vantage, the $1 trillion company, the hyperscalers, and yet they managed to do it. What, you get the signatures, what, it took it 3 days? Can imagine if they had 3 months. I think they would have got the mayor's mother to sign if that was the case. It was that good. And I would say, though, by way of criticism, constructive criticism at that there has been a delay in creating and circulating recall petitions for the mayor. I would highly suggest that you get these things formulated, get them circulated, signed, get them in so we can vote them out. Thank you all for coming here.
Hello, Jonathan Rizk from 1151 West Baldwin Court, Mequon, Wisconsin. So people think that this is a done deal. However, the development agreement is part of tax incremental financing law. You need to create a development agreement in order to create a tax incremental district. What is also within the scope of tax incremental financing law is the Common Council adopting a TID termination resolution and the Joint Resolution Board approving that. Now, everyone in here understands that this Common Council and this current Joint Resolution Board will obviously not do that. So what are Port residents to do when their representatives won't listen to them? Well, this spring, wards 2, 4, and 6 are up for re-election. And starting from December 1st, which is yesterday, until January 6th, candidates can be nominated for wards 2, 4, and 6. Now, wards 1, 3, 5, and 7, they were re-elected this year. So in order to recall those seats, you have to wait at least a year for them to be in that seat before you can create a recall petition for those seats. However, there is one seat that can have a recall petition created, which is obviously for the mayor, because he has had at least 1 year in his seat. So what I would urge people to do, if they actually want to abolish the TID, is to, starting today, nominate people who are against the data center who want to run for alderpersons in wards 2, 4, and 6. Get those nomination papers in sooner rather than later, because you have until now, until January 6th, to create nominations for those seats. Now, once wards 1, 3, 5, and 7 have had a year in their seat, which will happen a little after April of next year, people can create recall petitions for those seats as well. Now, once the Common Council and Joint Resolution Board all has people in it that are willing to pass a TID termination resolution, you can abolish the TID. Thank you.
Good
Name and
evening.
address?
My name is Andy Allen, Blue Harbor Tech Solutions, 507 Briarwood Lane, Port Washington. I want to state clearly I support the Lighthouse Data Center. To the groups opposing the Lighthouse campus, I find their position untenable. They use social media to support their intentions to impose fear into our community. Like a giant snowball, they will drain Lake Michigan. They will ruin the environment until they collectively consolidate all their personal biases into a feeding frenzy of misinformation. You have a very limited vision for promise in Port Washington. Does Charlie Barons know the Green Bay Packers have a data center? Will he now become a Bears fan? The fact that we are even listening to a comedian when it comes to data center construction is a comedy act itself. These groups need to step back and look at a broader picture of promise for Port Washington's future. The people with real vision and commitment to Port are our mayor and our common council. The future of technology is here because of them. The people that are going to make this happen are the Vantage team, their contractors and skilled trades. Vantage operates 39 data centers on 5 continents, and their leaders are they are leaders in sustainability and design. And their lighthouse model meets LEED standards for energy efficiency and environmental responsibility. Vantage has pledged $3 million to restore Valley Creek Waterway. Has any homespun environmental group come close to this? The Lighthouse campus will be a nucleus and catalyst for better life. Has anyone here lost a loved one to cancer or disease? An AI data center will help discover cancers sooner and treat cancers and diseases more effectively. AI will help design our own personalized treatment plans to extend our lives, to know our grandchildren. When these children grow up, opportunities will be here, meaningful jobs that allow them to stay close to family, to build their lives right here in Port. The Lighthouse campus can shine a beam to new graduates, offering them careers in cutting-edge technology. It is time that we as a community realize the many benefits offered by the Lighthouse campus, like establishing a resource for renewable energy. Many Vantage professionals from around the world are working in Port to develop the Lighthouse campus. These are bright, community-minded people, boaters, hikers, and families just like us. They will fall in love with the city. I feel we should welcome the Vantage team like we welcome Santa this weekend in celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, name and address, please.
My name is Dean Wiegert. I'm at 3708 East Norport Drive in Port Washington. Forgive me for having to read it, but I can't speak off the cuff. All I would ask is that you understand there are human beings that are being affected by your every decision. I would ask that you to remember your common humanity. There's a whole group of people in the town of Port Washington who were told that they have no power over the situation. I was at the Town of Port Board meeting in January when the border agreement and the annexation were discussed. We were told by Mr. Didier that there was nothing we could do as a town or as town residents about the data center or the annexation of the town land. He told us the only thing that we could do as a town was to decide to let the annexation happen immediately or wait until the border agreement ended. He said everything was in the hands of the city. I don't necessarily believe that anymore. I don't know who does, especially when I see whose land was sold. But it is too late now. I would ask you to remember that there's a whole group of people that have been displaced. And there's a whole other group of people who are still there, but whose neighbors have disappeared, whose landscape is being changed, who are having to deal with road closures, increased traffic, loud machinery, nighttime light pollution. These people are afraid of the pollution, of the constant noise, and of the light pollution. They have absolutely no say over the billionaire corporation, its billionaire owner, and the billion-dollar contractors that work for them. I ask you to remember that you are human, and so are they, and that you should have some basic concern over their situation. Please end the 24-hour work schedule now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Name and address, please, sir.
Jeff Lewick, 902 North Wisconsin Street. I'm a retired Port Washington resident, As was stated in a flyer you put around for more fire and police staff, a conservative number is 60% of Port Washington residents are at retirement age. Most of us don't use social media. As you, Ted, know, everything isn't true on there, like you pulled from Facebook yourself. As I went around in District 1, I spoke with well over 100 residents, most of them for more than 3 minutes. You should try that sometime. You'd find out a lot about your citizen support you're supposed to represent. Many were not informed at all or very little by what you were willing to release of the TID, that all of you approved, knowing many of us are against it. I was told this happened in the past with other projects. We're on fixed incomes and can't afford to fight the project. However, we all have voices. Some may be afraid. Some are afraid to voice it because they're your neighbor, your friend, or your family. Well, I'm not. And plenty more I spoke with said they're waiting to be heard. You don't seem to hear us. Nothing was sent out to any of us until you were 90% done with the deal. That's why you didn't hear resistance to your deal until now. We need you to represent us, your citizens of Port Washington, and not Vantage or any other developer. We pay your salary. That's why I and many others I spoke with ask, who's getting paid off? Or in what way? Or who are you in bed with now? To get your truth out, I'm asking you to hold an open town hall meeting so we can hear your truth. And you can hear from the rest of the residents, not the ones that are closest to you. I'd like all of us to be able to work together in the future and not have to work against you. I had my street redone this year. Nothing was ever told to me or my neighbors from start to finish or what the hell was being done. They broke a slab of mine. Thankfully, they replaced it. You'd think they would have informed me, yet no one said anything. Sounds like more communication issues, just like the data project. The alley behind me, I've called on 3 times in the last 2 years. Had a resident tell me her husband slipped in that alley last winter and injured himself. Yet the reply to me was, we do alleys every other year. The holes have been there for 3 years. This is the alley PTS had to pump out for days, a block down, so they could pour their concrete for the street. I want you to start working for Port residents, not for Vantage or anyone else. We're paying your salary and demand it from you. Don't make Port the laughing stock of Ozaukee County by you selling us out. When I looked to retire from 33 years of government service, I looked for a peaceful community, not 24-hour construction and we'll see who complains, ha ha. Instead, I have to give more to a screwed up system you choose to manipulate. Ted, we're not giving up. Do you hear us now? Your only reply I'm getting from you is, dear fellow Americans, I'm not a crook.
Next speaker, thank you.
Christine Lejeune, 137 East Cleveland Street, Port Washington, Wisconsin, 53074. The people of Port Washington proudly stand here tonight united in their belief that the power of their collective voice cannot be silenced. The direct legislation petition forcing more responsibility in the use of tax increment districts has been officially certified in its validity, and the message lacks no clarity to those who are paying attention. We will not continue to be silenced and ignored while our beautiful, pristine city is taken away from us and handed over to a corporation intent on extracting as many resources as they can, regardless of the impact to the people who live here. Democratic governments were designed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. When a government fails to be responsive to the needs and concerns of the people they're supposed to represent, something has gone terribly, terribly awry. For months, this mayor and common council have ignored the pleas from their constituents to oversee this project with due diligence to assess its impact on Port Washington, Ozaukee County, and the incredibly unique Great Lakes region in which we all reside. We asked for town halls to allow better communication between the local government and the people, and no action was taken. We asked for an independent environmental study to be conducted, and no action was taken. We asked for the city's financial interest to be legally guaranteed in extreme detail, and no action was taken. We have now demanded that this project not involve a penny of public funds, and we will be watching very carefully how the mayor and Common Council respond to that demand. Trust is one of the most important human emotions. Building trust in relationships takes years, and it can be shattered in an instant. Nowhere is that more apparent than in local government, where nearly every citizen, every decision the leaders make has a direct impact on each and every citizen. Overuse of closed-door meetings, as we're seeing more of tonight, under-communication of impactful decisions, and failure to take seriously the repeated concerns of residents has led to an environment where the people no longer know who to turn to, as they are repeatedly cast aside and told their opinions do not matter. The loss of trust by the people in our city leaders has been put on full display by the actions of the mayor and the Plan Commission in their November 20th meeting. Vantage asked to change construction hours from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to 24 hours a day. Most leaders would have tabled the issue after
Thank you. Thank you.
but you did nothing. And you laughed about it.
Name and address.
Kathleen Schilling, 10220 West Malvina. I'm here from the Ozaki Economic Development to speak in support of the data center. I know we've heard a lot of information and there's been a lot of questions. One of the things I'd just like to say some things that I'm aware of that through conversations that I've had, both with state officials and We Energies. I know there's been a lot of questions about some of these power costs are going to be going back to the people. That's not true. This is not the only data center that the state is dealing with. State is dealing with a variety of data centers, and they have a plan. We Energies has a plan that those costs will be absorbed by the companies that are doing this. Additionally, as part of this plan for them to ensure that we all have enough energy, they are creating some really robust sustainable energy programs, which are going to be very exciting. We're going to see some wind. We're going to see more solar. And those things, most of those costs will be borne by these companies. So these...
Pause. Please step away. I can't. Please stop.
You were purposely obstinate on the 24/7. No,
Please, friends. Hey, please. Please, clear the chambers. Council, clear the chambers.
Way to go, Ted. Great job. No. Community loves you, Ted. There's 30 pieces of equipment that are
Excuse me. Everyone, we're going to get started here again in a minute. A reminder that we expect everyone here to treat everyone with respect. If people are speaking, we expect that people will not interrupt them. If you cannot treat others with respect, you will be asked to leave. If you are asked to leave, you do need to leave. Again, please treat everyone with respect. Even if you don't agree with them, allow them to speak, allow them to say what they've come here to say, just like they're allowing you to come here or to speak and to say what you want to say. So please treat everyone with respect. Otherwise, you will be asked to leave.
We have 10 minutes remaining of public comments, and you had a minute and 57 seconds remaining. So if you would like to continue, please. Hold on a second. Give us 1 second to get your microphone turned on. No, we need to be able to record it.
Rob, does yours work? Rob, does yours work?
Yeah.
I can slide it over by her.
Okay.
No.
No? Leave it open. Okay. No, we got the wire in the way here. We can't do that way.
Might need to work 24/7 on the podium.
Are we good now?
Yes.
So I was just saying that with regards to the power, We Energies definitely has a plan. They're dealing with multiple of these data centers throughout the state, throughout their territories. I was very impressed when I heard they have a presentation that they've given. Scott Lauber, the president there, gave a great presentation talking about their plan to deal with that, to ensure that local residents wouldn't be paying for the cost of this power, that those costs would go back to the companies who are building these data centers or operating these data centers. Additionally, I know that there's been a lot of concerns about some of the environmental. People are questioning, saying other data centers use more water. We're not sure. Why should we believe this? We also have to remember that technology continues to change. These data centers are continuing to look at what works, what doesn't work, and they're finding new ways to do things that make more sense. And that's what they're looking at here. And if you look at their water usage, it is not extreme. It's not anything more than, I think it's 65 homes. So if we look at what they're saying, we have to trust in what they're saying, and we have developers agreements, and we have all those things. And so we continue to support this project. Thank you.
Next speaker, name and address, please.
Chris Carnish, 878 Weilers Way, Port Washington. The first thing I'd like to say is calling this the Lighthouse Data Center is really, really a horrible idea. Port Washington is so proud of their lighthouse. And now when you go to look it up on your AI, look up Port Washington Lighthouse, you're going to get a data center. Anyway, I was really shocked watching your Planning Commission meeting last week, and Vantage very carefully asked you, is it okay if we work 24 hours a day? And the comments from the city were, oh, I don't see a problem with that. You know, there's noise from the freeway, and there's farmers out there plowing all night long. I have lived in the town of Port Washington for 30 years, and I could probably count on one hand the nights that a farmer worked in the dark all night long. So that is just absolutely ridiculous. I want to remind you all that This is not in the town of Port Washington anymore. This is in the city. Do you not have a noise ordinance for your city? Can anyone just decide to stay up all night and run tractors or have bands all night long? Why should this be any different? I would ask that you would enforce your noise ordinance, the same restrictions on this city property that you would have on your block. Why isn't it okay for people to work outside running lawnmowers and stuff all night long for the next year outside your house, but you think it's okay to just run all this stuff all night long? Thank you.
Next speaker, name and address.
All right, Mike Beester, 305 South Garfield Avenue. I'm glad to be back with you guys again tonight. So, all right, there was a man named Lyle Lanley who went to the city of Springfield. Now, Lyle was a talented salesman. He was able to capture the minds of the city leaders and convince them that the people's money would be best spent on a flashy new monorail to spruce up the city and attract economic prosperity. Now, the monorail would bring cushy jobs, and the city really had no other choice. After all, if Springfield was too foolish to capitalize on such a huge windfall, surely a neighboring community would immediately realize their mistake and claim that economic development for themselves. Now, in reality, the monorail once built was a rickety, unsafe, and ugly eyesore. And by the time anyone really realized it, the salesman was gone with the money. Now, at this point, most of you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But a few of you millennials will remember that classic beloved episode of The Simpsons from season 4. The plot of this episode is all too familiar, but there's two key differences. One, we're dealing with a data center instead of a monorail. And unlike in The Simpsons, where all the townspeople support the idea, nobody in Port Washington actually wants this. Moving on, in the November 20th Plan Commission meeting, the developer asked for permission to work 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, plus limited weekend hours. Aside from the fact that new business is supposed to go on a posted agenda for a future meeting before moving forward, the fact that this drastic change was immediately agreed to with no meaningful pushback shows who the mayor is most concerned with pleasing. It's one thing to ignore your constituents, but it's another thing entirely to actively work against their best interests and deprive them of even their quiet evenings in the backyard for the next several years. I'm guessing the Common Council, if they were given the opportunity to vote on this, would shut it down. Let's find out. Common Council, raise your hand if you think 24-hour construction noise is acceptable. Okay. So we know why this developer is pushing to complete this project as fast as possible. When they were already given an extra 2 hours per day, which by their own admission was generous. First, the AI bubble is beginning to stumble. In the past month, AI-related companies are down significantly. Oracle down 23%, NVIDIA is down 10%, Palantir is down 15%, and small nuclear reactor company NuScale Power is down a whopping 58%. But more fundamentally, the developer realizes just how deeply unpopular this city leadership is becoming amongst their residents, and they'll need to move quickly before new leadership begins to push back on all these absurdities. So just to close this out, the broken promises will not end here. Vantage will continue to push the boundaries to see what they can get away with, and by the time you guys find your courage, it may be too late. Thank you.
Mike Jenkins, 5400 Sunny Ridge Road, Belgium, Wisconsin. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but after I saw the show of the new Port Washington, led by the mayor, of taking this poor woman over here who said the word recall, hauled out by force, way to go, Port's finest. That was really an awesome display. Very brave. Look, this data center has been a joke from the start. You've spent way more time marketing and advertising to the community this beam in the new safety building, which I'm sure has your likeness on it, then you have this data center to people. The TID is a joke. $450 million is less than 3% of the cost of this project. So you guys couldn't even negotiate a 3% cost increase to negate the whole TID. You didn't negotiate a community benefit agreement, which would have put money into the schools, and there's no payback for 18 years. The best part of the TID is that 40% of it is interest back to Vantage. We're paying interest back to Vantage, 40%, $187 million. This has got to be one of the worst negotiations I've ever heard about. I mean, they must have just loved negotiating with you guys. A bunch of desperate small town, big tech into the area, and we just fell for it hook, line, and sinker. The most disturbing part is not the poor business acumen. It's the way you've treated this community. Your arrogance all the way through this, the fact that you don't care. You don't care about people's power lines going over people's farms. You sit up there and you look with indignance to everybody. You just don't care. It's obvious. Okay? People whose lives are changing, the culture, the fabric of this town, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because you believed at the start you were doing the right thing. And then as the facts trickled out, it's obvious you didn't, but you're too proud to admit it. All of you. So we sit here today with this thing continue to roll on. It's a bad deal from a business standpoint. It's a bad deal from a resource allocation standpoint. It's certainly a bad deal for the community. But yet, here we are. You guys still are going to get out there and promote this and tell people it's great for the community. The science behind data centers is changing every day. Articles today about the investment of Google and others who are investing in data centers in space. We don't even know if this is going to be around in 18 years when supposedly the city gets a payback on this TID. Nobody knows. So we've mortgaged this. We're putting and then the 24/7 construction. What a joke, and to make a mockery out of that. People live near there. I mean, the gentleman who just brought up the point about having lawnmowers going 24/7 outside your house, people live next to this. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So, I don't know, Mayor. This is what you get when you don't care. When you don't listen and you don't care. You get people who are really pissed off, and that's what you get.
As always, we appreciate your comments, but we are now at the close of the public comment period for the beginning of the meeting, and then we're going to move into the agenda. First agenda item is the consent agenda. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. There's 3 items under the mayor's business tonight. The first is a proclamation. This Friday at Port Washington High School on the Wall of Fame, they are honoring a high school graduate of Port Washington High School from the class of 1990. His name is Dr. Matthew Vanderheiden. Matt and I rode the bus together on the way to school as kids in Port Washington. Matt's a distinguished 1990 graduate of Port Washington High School, and he's been selected for the 2024-2025 Wall of Fame honoree for his extraordinary contributions to science, medicine, and humanity. Dr. Vanderheiden has emerged as a nationally recognized leader in cancer research and treatment. He's currently serving as the director of the prestigious Cook Institute for Integrative Cancer Research at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. Whereas he holds the esteemed title of the Lester Wolf Professor of Molecular Biology and is a respected member of the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard, further advancing the understanding and treatment of cancer. And whereas Dr. Vanderheiden earned his Bachelor's of Science in Biological Chemistry, his Doctorate of Medicine, and his PhD from the University of Chicago, demonstrating his exceptional commitment to academic excellence. And whereas he has completed rigorous medical training at Brigham and Women's Hospital and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and he continues to serve as a practicing oncologist and instructor at Harvard Medical School. Now, therefore, we, as the City of Port Washington, recognize him, and we declare December 5th, Dr. Matthew Vanderheiden Day in the City of Port Washington. We encourage all residents to join in the recognition, and if you can attend the ceremony at Port Washington High School this Friday to honor Matthew, that would be great. So congratulations to Matthew. All right, and then the next agenda item under the mayor's business is the appointment of 2 citizens to different boards and committees and commissions. Looking at a 4-year term for Mr. Peter Vandervelden for the Community Development Authority. Peter is a resident of the City of Port Washington, an IT specialist, and he's been very interested in local politics and been involved in what's going on in the City of Port Washington for a long time. So I'm recommending him for that board. And then the Board of Review, I'm recommending Mr. Tim Schultz, who is another resident of Port Washington, obviously, and very active in the city. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve their appointments?
I'll move to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Then under announcements, just a reminder that this weekend, December 6th, is the City of Port Washington Holiday Parade. That begins at 5:15 from 2 to 5 o'clock downtown. Please make sure to participate and support our local businesses and attend the different events that will be taking place there as put on by our Main Street Association. And at 5 p.m., the tree lighting will take place, and this year's coloring contest and official city Christmas card award winner will be recognized. The parade's at 5:15, and the fireworks begin at 6. So thank you, everybody, for their participation in that. I just want to make one clarifying comment on the Planning Commission's approval of Vantage's work hours for the 24 hours. I made it very clear, and we made it very clear to them that we would be watching that, and if it became disruptive at any time, we would be pulling that back immediately. So we will be working with them and monitoring that as they are doing that, and that was made very, very clear to them at that meeting. Okay, and then our officer and staff reports, our city administrator, Melissa.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few announcements. The 2026 resident guide is on the website, so that has various things throughout the year, so that is posted. I wanted to thank the streets department this weekend for their plowing. They did a nice job keeping things moving through the city, so I just wanted to say that on the record. And then also parking enforcement started on December 1st, so make sure that your cars are off the road at night so we can make sure the streets are plowed. You can request an exception through the police department, through their website, and I think you can do that up to 8 times, but visit the website if you need an exception. Tax bills are available online, and those payments can be made here. Note that the City Hall will be closed for the 24th, 25th, and 31st, and January 1st for the holidays. So if you're getting your taxes paid by the end of the year, make note of that. That is also on the website. And then just a couple other public notifications. On the 9th this month, there will be an public information session about Valley Creek restoration. There's a community event at Public Works Board, correct, Rob? And then also, if you're interested in zoning, they're on December 18th. They will be talking about some zoning ordinances, about that rewrite at Plan Commission. So if you're interested in that, we've been doing that for quite a while, and it's posted each month with all department heads updates. But since we had a couple extra people, I thought I'd make note. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Melissa, clarifications? Okay, with that, then we're going to move into agenda items from standing council committees. First thing is I'm going to call to order a public hearing. Notice was given of this public hearing at City Hall. The notice is given that the subject of the public hearing is the proposed creation of an amendment of parts of Chapter 455, the City Code of the City of Port Washington, relating to the creation, imposition, collection, and administration of a transportation facilities impact fee to be imposed on developers to pay proportionate shares of capital costs of constructing, expanding, or improving public facilities necessitated to accommodate new land developments within the city, for which said impact fee will be imposed. This meeting was posted, and are there any speakers here this evening to speak in favor of the proposal? Anyone speaking in favor? Is there anyone speaking against? Anyone speaking against? Okay, with that, I'm going to call the hearing closed. That moves us into the next agenda item. Mr. Vandenhoven, you have this. The subject is consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-33, establishing and imposing a transportation facilities impact fee and creating and amending portions of Chapter 455, our city code. This is the second reading, so the council may take action. The issue is, should the city adopt an ordinance imposing an impact fee to pay capital costs of new, expanded, or improved public facilities to accommodate new land development in the city, and the staff's recommendation is to enact the ordinance. Rob.
Okay, so this is the second reading of this ordinance. The first reading was at the last meeting in November. I think it was November 20th. And I'm sorry, at the November 18th council meeting. And at that meeting, Christy DeMaster was with us to make a presentation on the study associated with the proposed improvements that were outlined in the Keeney Architects report that was reviewed by the Common Council on August 6th of this year. As the mayor said, this Impact fee will pay for the cost of expansion of facilities for our street department garage as we move into the next few decades of serving the city that is rapidly expanding. So this is the second reading, and the staff recommends approval of the ordinance.
Council, any questions, comments, or concerns? Is there anyone willing to make a motion for the staff recommendation to
I'll move to
approve?
approve ordinance 2025-33.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a second. Mary Lou, thank you very much. Any questions or concerns on that motion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion carries. That brings us into consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-32, an ordinance creating the cemetery board. This is a first reading. And the issue is, should the Common Council approve ordinance 2025-32, an ordinance creating the cemetery board? The staff recommendation is that the city attorney recommends the Common Council adopt ordinance 2025-32. There's no motion on this, as this is a first reading. Matt.
Thank you. As stated in the memo, the Union Cemetery, which is located in the city here in Port Washington, currently run by the Port Washington Cemetery Association for various reasons. The caretaker and the Cemetery Association are no longer, in the near future, going to be able to fulfill the duties necessary to take care of the cemetery. By state law, if a cemetery becomes abandoned, the municipality has to take it over. We're essentially working here with the Cemetery Association to preemptively take that step so that way we can take over the cemetery, the maintenance, the running of the cemetery prior to it becoming abandoned, and so that there's a smooth transition for both people buried in the cemetery and their family members, people who hope to be buried there in the future as well. This ordinance in front of you is essentially creates a cemetery board, which will oversee the cemetery, the Union Cemetery. This was before GGF in early November. Based on their recommendation, we pared down the ordinance to what you see today. Originally, we had drafted an ordinance that was an ordinance that kind of regulated the cemetery, but what was decided after GGF was essentially, let's create the cemetery board first, figure out what it is we need to do, how we want to regulate it, how we want to run the cemetery, and then go from there. So this ordinance is just creating the cemetery board. Once the cemetery comes into possession of the city, we will have to create another ordinance that does regulate and manage the cemetery, but that's the next step, and hopefully we'll have input from the cemetery board when we get to that point. I will point out, and it was pointed out to me in the ordinance here, that there is a, I guess what I would refer to as a typo under 820 sub A. It says that the cemetery commissioner's duties shall include but are not limited to, and it does not say what the cemetery commissioner's duties are. That was essentially an error when this was copy and pasted from the previous draft that we were working on. The cemetery commissioner's duties will be included in the next ordinance. They don't need to be included here, so that line will be deleted from the final version of the ordinance. There was also just a comment about the timeline for members of the cemetery board expiring. We have it here, April in respective years. There was a suggestion that we move that to June to more closely comply with some other positions with other boards within the city.
Members of the cemetery board are appointed by the mayor?
Correct.
And this is more for public consumption. And how many board members are there?
There will be 3 board members.
And then who is the staff associated with?
So the cemetery commissioner will be appointed by the mayor. That is either the city clerk, the director of public works, or a designee of the city clerk, or a designee of the director of public works, whoever is suitable at that time.
And if other cemeteries in the city of Port Washington over time are abandoned, does the ordinance have to be updated, or do they automatically fall under the purview of the cemetery board?
The ordinance would have to be updated in order to show that as it's currently stated, it's just for the management of the Union Cemetery, but if there is another cemetery that's abandoned that the city needs to take over, we would update the ordinance.
Okay. I have no other anyone else have any questions or clarifications?
I'll
Mr. Benning?
just add some commentary on this one. Sorry, Pat. I know that the city clerk and many other staff have been working for over a year on this transition, and we prefer not to have Union Cemetery be abandoned. We prefer to have it, I think the right term is gifted to us, and have a smooth transition. So that's really what the city clerk and folks have been working on. The city attorney has been working with the attorney for the current cemetery board. We've got to muddle through the property transfer legal process, as well as some financials that the current cemetery board has. The current cemetery board manages 3 different cemeteries, Union Cemetery in Port, Holden East, or the old Norwegian Cemetery, which is in the town of Port, and then Holden West, which is in the town of Saukville. So it's very complicated. So I compliment Susan, I didn't call it a library board, did I, Matt? So I compliment Susan and staff on that and getting through this, and we've got some work to do. Matt, I guess, do you have a estimate or target you would hope on the financial and the legal for the transfer?
I hesitate to put a timeline on that just because there's a lot of moving parts. I think originally, for a long time, our goal has been, the end of the year, kind of a clean transition. At this point, I don't know whether that's realistic or not, but I can assure you we're working to get this. So that way, when the gifting occurs, and in order for it to be gifted, it'll come back before the council. We're set up to take this on and to run it properly rather than to just kind of do it piecemeal as it comes along.
Okay, thanks.
Mary Lou, did you have a?
Do we know what the fiscal impact will be for this project? I mean, I know we have to do it, but do we know what it's going to cost?
I don't have those details. I know that the finance director and the city clerk have been in discussions, and certainly we can provide more information regarding that.
So it's not in the 2026 budget as of this date?
The current budget, there were funds put aside for us to be able to work on putting together a GIS mapping program and a cemetery program that would be able to be used online by both staff and the public. That's been underway for quite some time. There was funding in the budget for that, which we are currently, I would say, probably a week away from completion of that with Mead Hunt. And they will be finishing up the final details and be delivering that product to us. So we had to work within over 1,000-page original cemetery book that is many generations old, all in longhand, was not easy to read. We had to take all of the information in this large book and transfer it into an Excel spreadsheet, which took months. And then that is part of this project that is being used to coordinate with the GIS program and the mapping that's already been done and the drone footage that was already done. So that piece is finished. The Parks Department has been maintaining the grounds for a number of years already. That's already been within our budget.
Okay.
And the fees that are charged, those are being reviewed now to make certain that when we finally take that next step and take ownership, that the fees will be able to support the work being done with the public that needs burials.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Susan. And I know it's been extensive work. I've come in and seen the layout of the cemetery and each of the plots and tombstones, et cetera, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate that Park and Rec has been maintaining that cemetery for a few years and supporting the respectful environment that we should preserve there. So thank you all. Any other final thoughts or comments? Okay, with that, then we're going to move into the next agenda item, which is consideration and possible action on the approval of original alcohol license for Class C wine for Bon Bon Bella Store, LLC, Bon Bon Bella Bridal Boutique. Megan Cass is the agent at 211 North Franklin Street, Suite 102. The issue is should the Common Council is being asked to approve an original Class C wine alcohol license for the establishment and approve Megan Cass as the agent. The staff recommendation from the clerk is that it has been reviewed and approved and requires, and all supporting documentation has been done. All required fees have been paid and the background record checks completed and approved by the police chief. Susan.
So this is a new business going into the burner building. You probably will remember the previous, a number of years ago, there was a bicycle shop in there. And then we had a art and artist store that was run in there most recently, Mercantile Plaza. So the new owners, and they are leasing this space from the building owners, but the new owners of this particular business are Wendy and Andrew Lynch. And as the mayor had stated, they have identified the agent for the alcohol license. As in most salons, this type of boutique and salon for bridal, as it says, when they say yes to the dress, they like to be able to celebrate with their clients as well as the people they brought along for their special day. So other than that, that will be the only use of alcohol on that premise. And everything is approved and all payments have been received, so we're recommending approval on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds fun. All right, any questions or concerns, or is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Alderperson Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Benning. Any questions or concerns on that? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. That takes us into the last public opportunity here, and that brings us back to public comments and appearances. Is there anyone who's willing to make public comments or appearances? Name and address, please.
Dawn Stacy, 1535 North Holden Street, Port Washington. So I hadn't planned to speak today, so a little off the cuff, so I hope that I stay on topic for you. But I have heard the word respect used by the Common Council and the mayor several times in the meetings that I've been here. And I'm wondering if we know the meaning of the word respect. I think maybe when you're asking people to speak in a certain way, you're thinking decorum. So as an educator, you should know, generally speaking, when you're using a word, you should go right to finding the definition of the word. So pulling up that definition of the word respect, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. For democracy to thrive, we need to have respect between public servants and the people whom they serve. I listened to this last part of the council meeting and the hard work that the councilors and the people of Port Washington put into to make this a beautiful city to live in. My family chose to live here. I'm an Army brat. My husband and I moved many times throughout our marriage, and we deliberately chose Port Washington. One of the reasons I chose Port Washington is because I could see, as I was raising my 6 kids through the school district, people invested in this community, people who respected one another's achievements, respected one another's work to make Port Washington work. The second definition of respect, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. So, we're in this council meeting. We have so many people who have these concerns about this data center that are coming in. Are we being heard by the Common Council? No, we're not. We're coming with these considerations, and instead of being heard, we have people being dragged out of the room who have just spoken their concerns. Are we being shown a feeling of deep admiration? Have you seen what the people have done in the last 2 months as they've shown their concern about this data center? That should actually make you guys stop and admire the people of your community, how much they love this community, how much they're willing to work to say, hey, this does not work for us. A lot of us tonight are here concerned for the 24-hour construction that's going to go on. And the mayor addressed that just a moment ago. And when you think about that second definition of the word respect, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. Will you allow a permit for a party that is all night long and say, well, only if it gets rowdy will...
Thank you. Name and address.
Okay, Maureen Jaitner, 3639 East Norport Drive, Port Washington. Mayor Knightsky and board members, I've been listening and watching this evening, and I have some questions. What is your definition of transparency? Given the recent okay for Vantage to work 24 hours, 5 days a week, which was promised wouldn't happen, what is your definition of watching out for the good of the citizens? What are the other issues that Vantage, Oracle, OpenAI could convince you to change? Do you have any guarantees in place from Vantage, Oracle, OpenAI in regard to the promises they have made economically, environmentally, and socially? If you are so sure the city wants this opportunity, why are you unwilling to have a city forum with experts speaking both for and against? Why has there not been a referendum? What are your plans to legally and technically work with these large corporations who have large teams of legal employees and many experts pushing their perspective only? How are you certain you are not being taken advantage of if you don't have your own teams of equal size and expertise? There are too many unanswered questions. Why are you unwilling to answer those questions? This approach doesn't seem to be working. No matter what happens, the city is in turmoil now. Is this what you want? Please remember, we all love Port Washington, or we wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chandler. Name and address, please.
My name is Lucille Henson, and I live at 1700 Pioneer Road in Cedarburg. I just want to start by saying that I'm very disappointed in the way that the incident with an earlier speaker was handled. I understand that you want to keep, a calm and civil meeting, but I do think that, there's a lot of frustration at the moment, and when people are angry and feel like they're not being heard, they lash out. I just think there could have been a better way to handle it. However, I do think it's a little bit representative of the way this process has gone. There's been a lot of disregard for the public and, in my opinion, disregard for the environment, especially Lake Michigan, which I think is in a lot of ways the heart of Port Washington. It's on the mural behind you. It's represented on the flag. It's in half the pictures on your website. And, I know there's been assurances that there won't be a negative impact, but given that there hasn't been an environmental impact assessment, I'm very skeptical about that. And I think that, if you want to safeguard this community, you need to firstly listen to your constituents and the residents that live here, most of whom it seems are vehemently opposed to this whole situation, and also consider, the environment that you're on. The Great Lakes are, I think, the greatest resource we have, not just here, but in the state as a whole. And then a plaque caught my attention, so I'm just going to read it, and I want you guys to think whether or not you've been, governing with this in mind. While respecting our heritage, we embrace the future as a government team that is committed to excellence, respectful of each individual, providing superior service, and fiscally responsible. We accomplish our goals in an open environment with dedicated, empowered employees and volunteers. I'm not sure if the claims made on that sign are true. So I think, you need to take a step back and really, remember what democracy is all about. And that is listening to the people who elected you. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Caleb Tydrick, 4465 Weilers Way, town of Port Washington. So I came here like usual. 2 of my roads are now closed, so there's only one road I can take to my house in my subdivision. There's already a sea of floodlights there, pretty much blinding on some parts of Lake Drive. There is a fake cop that sits on Lake Drive all day, every day now. My dad's made some conversation with him. He says he's there to protect everybody, so that's great. And on the way, I was thinking about this deal. These companies might have the biggest lowest debt to income ratio of all time. It's all debt, no income. OpenAI reports $20 billion. They'd have to make about $400 billion in revenue to pay these deals back by 2030. They're in such a rush to do this build out that nobody is even thinking that nobody would buy this stuff if there wasn't all this hype around it. It's pure speculation. And I was also thinking that pretty much everything I said was going to happen has happened. I said you guys would close the bike trail. The bike trail is closed. All the roads are closed. Obviously, they've all been closed. There's been no input from the public. You haven't announced an end user until, what was it, October 20th or something, when you finally said it was going to be OpenAI and Oracle? Everybody knows that Scam Altman is hated in this country. So you didn't want to tell us who it was. It was Cloverleaf, then it was Vantage, then it was Oracle and OpenAI. So I don't know what's behind the whole thing, but I know everybody in Wisconsin is going to pay higher rates for electricity. That's just going to be a fact 6 years from now, no matter what We Energy says. They've been known to lie in the past. They're already going to open up the Kewaunee nuclear plant again that was closed, decommissioned, I believe, in the 90s. So if you think that's not going to cost the Wisconsin taxpayer, you're mistaken. And this whole thing is going to come back to bite in 18 years when their contract is up because they have the best lawyers. I don't believe that Port Washington's attorneys, with all due respect, can negotiate with literally the best money, the best lawyers money can buy. I think it's a fallacy to even believe that's a possibility. So I just think this has been done as bad as it possibly could. And I'd like to know who's paying for your security detail, Ted. I heard you got a pretty big one these days. That's it.
Any further speakers? Okay. I'm going to close public comments, and we're going to head into the next part of our meeting. Rob, I do have a request, Mr. Vandenhoven. If you guys could put out on our city Facebook page the timeline for the water construction on the north side that was just referred to, because that's not forever. That's a set period of time. So if we could make sure the community recognizes, understands that. So that takes us into agenda items number 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 12 through 16. Each of these is a separate closed session item, which needs a separate motion and agenda. So the agenda reads to convene in a closed session on Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to which to discuss and formulate negotiating strategies without limitation, the terms and conditions for a potential development at 2326 through 2332 Sunset Road. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to go into close for that agenda item?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? That is a voice vote per ward. Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 6, Ward 7. Agenda item 13, convene in a closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to wit, to discuss and formulate negotiating strategies, including, without limitation, the terms and conditions for the development for development of the development known as Prairie's Edge, consisting of approximately 35.19 acres at the east side of County Highway C and the intersection of Sunset Road in the city of Port Washington. Is there anyone willing to make such a motion?
Move to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none. Ward 1? Ward 2? Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4? Ward 5? Ward 6? Ward 7? That brings us to the next agenda item. Convene in a closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. To wit, discuss and formulate negotiating strategies regarding the potential sale of city-owned property at 104 West Washington Street and 365 North Wisconsin Street in the city of Port Washington, Ozaukee County, Wisconsin. Is there anyone willing to make such a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none. Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4, Ward 5, Ward 6, Ward 7. That brings us to the next and last, no, almost last. Convene in a closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. To wit, discuss and formulate negotiating strategies regarding the potential development by Pierce Street development of property at 115 East Pierce Street in the city of Port Washington, Ozaukee County, Wisconsin. Is there anyone willing to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none. Ward 1. Aye. Ward 2. Aye. Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4. Aye. Ward 5. Aye. Ward 6. Aye. Ward 7. And the final one, convene in a closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Is there someone willing to make such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right. Ward 7. Ward 6. Aye. Ward 5. Aye. Ward 4. Aye. Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 2. Aye. Ward 1. Aye. We are now in closed session. Please clear the chambers.